Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast, where we talk all things personal growth, transformation, and stress optimization. So, today we're talking a little bit more about transformation, and we're talking about what happens when we are butting up against our current limits, when we are on the verge of a breakthrough, when you are about to level up, and what that might feel like. Because I want to talk about this because there's a couple of reasons. Because one, I think we have an expectation of what this feels like. And then we have the reality of what it feels like. And the two don't always line up exactly. So, and I also want to talk about this because this is exactly what is happening in my own life. And I hope that it resonates with you as well. So, I have an app called The Pattern, and it kind of talks about astrology and some different things. And over the next, I guess it's 9 months, I'm kind of in this period of major life changes. And all of these things are starting to happen. And I'm really grateful that I know this information because it has been a journey. All right. So, for any of you that know, maybe you don't know, and that's okay, we're making some pretty big changes to Evolve Beyond Limits. We are starting to re-energize it. We are rebranding it. And I am really coming off of 2 years of where I just about threw in the towel, where I really almost gave it up altogether. And it's one of those things that I'm starting to put myself out there again. And I am really just everything about Evolve Beyond Limits is leveling up. Everything about who I am being asked to look at and to grow and to expand, to be able to hold different things. And there's a part of me that wants to run back into where I was, right? And I've come to realize that that is actually really normal. It's really normal to feel that way. And there's some things that are happening that I want to talk about because I know for a fact that this is not just me that has experienced this or will experience this. And I just want to talk about it today because some people are going to get stopped by it. Some people are going to stop their growth. They're going to stop where they know they need to go because of the things that we're going to talk about today, but not you, because you listened to this podcast episode and you are going to know how to move through it. Okay. So here's the thing. When you're on the verge of some big changes, things are shifting, things are changing. Everything that you've always wanted is starting to come to fruition. And what happens? You start to fall apart. You start to doubt it all. You start to self-sabotage. You start to go into this fear spiral, right? And here's the deal. When you're on the edge of a breakthrough, it often won't feel like it. I think because we envisioned this moment being sunshine and butterflies, and what it actually feels like is like storm clouds and quicksand, right? And we are just trying to fight and claw our way through it because we just keep bumping up to that edge. We just keep bumping up to this uncomfortable feeling because we know that we have to become I don't want to say a new version of ourselves, but we have to level up. We have to expand. We have to be able to hold more. And so it actually starts to feel really messy, really uncertain, really dramatic in a lot of ways. But these aren't the moments, they're not signs to stop. They're actually signals that you're on the verge of something big. And so this episode is here to help you build an awareness of the mental and emotional patterns that surface during these types of transitions. And I want to teach you how to laugh at the chaos and keep moving forward regardless of all the shenanigans that these things are kind of pulling to the surface. Okay. So first we need to become aware of the sign the signs that are there that happen. And I've come up with about 6 of them from personal experience, okay, as well as watching and working with people for, the last 8 years that are making changes in their life. There's things that happen. And so we're going to break these down one by one so that you can start to see maybe where they show up in your own life. So here's the first one. If any of these feel familiar right now, okay? So let's just take this from a place of curiosity. Is you start to doubt and question everything that you're doing as well as everything you're not doing. All right, there's so much doubt. There's so much questioning. And the funny part about this is it doesn't just stay in the realm of what you're working on. So let's say right now I happen to be talking about Evolve Beyond Limits, but we are also in the process of moving to like our dream place and being able to feel settled for a couple of years. Like there's so many changes happening, but I'm not even talking about it in that. Like, yes, there's doubt, but the way that this showed up, and this is quite funny, I think, so I'm going to share it with you, is that I went to pottery and I decided to just get creative. And I was like, I'm going to try to find I've never glazed anything by myself, and I was avoiding glazing because I'd never done it by myself. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun with it. Like, what is the worst case scenario? It turns out like shit. Like, okay, fine. But I'm going to have some fun. And I looked up some glazing ideas. And if any of you know me, I don't consider myself like the most artsy person. And I also don't consider myself somebody who, like, I'm very experiential. And so I don't sit there and go, how did they make that happen? Like, I think about that for probably 5 seconds, but then I just go try it. Okay. So I did all my glazing stuff. I put it on the shelves so that it could go into the kiln so that they could get fired and I could actually take some of my pottery home. Well, after I left, I started freaking out. I was just like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I took pictures of these things. And if you've ever glazed anything in pottery, the colors don't match at all what they're going to be. But I just was like, these are the most hideous things I have ever seen. What is wrong with me? People are going to go back there and be like, what the hell did she think was going on? And it took a friend of mine, it took my friend Amy to pull me out of my shitstorm of doubt. She's like, yes, I'm so sure that actually everybody at the pottery place is standing around staring at your pieces, talking about how horribly ugly they are because people have time for that, right? And it got me to giggle and I just kind of laughed. But this is what I mean. Like you start to just doubt, like there was no reason for me to doubt all of that. And what's funny about all the things we're going to talk about today is they are not logical, you guys. This is another key sign that what's happening is just like your subconscious trying to block you, that you're bumping up against your current, belief structures and your current limits in your life, is that they are not logical. Actually, there's probably a lot of tangible evidence to the contrary of what your mind is trying to tell you. Okay. Same thing is this happened to be the same week that there's all kinds of people giving me compliments on some different things and with work stuff and with EBL and all these things. And so there's all this evidence to the contrary of what my mind is trying to do. So that's just like another little tidbit. All right. So that's number 1. You're doubting and questioning everything you're doing, everything you're not doing. The second one is you start to get squirrely. All right. So you start allowing yourself to be distracted by things that don't really matter. They're not going to move you forward, and they're actually distracting you from reaching your goals. So this is where it can be shiny object syndrome, but we can also be like, let's just say we're working on our business and we're about to have a breakthrough in our business. And all of a sudden, okay, this actually happened. All of a sudden, we are getting a new place. And so therefore, there are things that actually have to get done, right? There are things that actually have to get done, but then there's distractions. Next thing you know, I was planning I was planning how we were going to decorate the porch. I started to look at washers and dryers. Well, none of that stuff needs to be done right now. And at the end of the day, we are not even planning on decorating it ourselves. We want to hire somebody to help us with that because we know at the end of the day, that piece of the puzzle is a distraction. It is distracting us from where we have placed our focus. And so you start to get, shiny object syndrome. You start to say, oh, well, I was going to do this, but never mind. Now I'm going to do this, even though you've put all this effort into this other thing. So instead of just staying the course, you're letting yourself getting pulled in all these different directions. So that's the second one. Third one, you start to focus on everything that isn't happening and everything that you aren't doing instead of focusing on forward. Instead of focusing on all the progress you are making and all the things that are happening, you are only looking for what's not happening. You are only looking for all the things you didn't get right? So that's the third one. The fourth one is that you start to take everything too seriously and you become dramatic. Okay. So this is when we fall into the villain, hero, victim triangle. And you usually fall into one of those things. And we start to take everything too serious. And, everything we do or don't do is going to be the end of the world. So we start to get really dramatic about things. That's the fourth one. The fifth one is I call it a case of the why bothers. Your mind starts to hijack you into believing that nothing you're doing actually matters, so you might as well just give up. Right? And I think we've all had this happen. Even though there's all this tangible evidence that that's not true, we are like, what's the point? This is so stupid. So yeah, I call this a case of the why bothers. Why bother? It's not going to matter. That's the fifth one. The sixth one, the final one, is that and this one, actually, I was talking to Andrew about these things and he brought this one up and I'm so glad that he did. It was because he sees this in his clients a lot, is you start to grasp for control. So you start micromanaging. You start working harder and leaving no room for rest. You start to fixate on the outcomes of things. You start to correct others and become really critical. You become rigid. A lot of times it's interesting because when we feel as if our life is out of control somewhere, we search for where we can control. And so a lot of times people become really rigid with their food and exercise because that's like completely within their control. Perfectionism, they are struggling to delegate or let go of a certain thing. So it's almost like instead of allowing and letting it unfold, we start to hold on and we start to tighten our grip on everything in our life, even though what got us here was probably surrendering and letting go and allowing. Well, that's becoming a threat to our system. So now we're going to vice grip everything in our life. And this is just another way that the fear of moving forward can get in our way. So again, these things aren't logical. They're not logical because they're not true, right? And so it's important to kind of understand where they're coming from so that you can have a little bit better of, at least it helps me, so I'll share it with you, is anything that comes from our mind, its job is to make everything a bigger deal than it is. Okay. And we all know this because the conversation. If you guys ever you're supposed to have a conversation with somebody and the amount of times you replayed it in your head and it ends up being this mountain that you have made out of a molehill because you left it in your head for too long. This is why I'm such a proponent of never leaving anything in your head, because the longer you leave it in there, the bigger it gets. Your mind exaggerates things, it catastrophizes things, it future trips, and we don't know the future, but it likes to pretend it does. Okay. And this is very much a fear-based thing that happens. So that's what happens when it's coming from our mind. We also never want to make decisions based on our emotions. We never want to allow our mind or our emotions to run the show because they cannot be trusted. Our emotions are very reactive and they're very dramatic. So this Our emotions love to make things the biggest deal in the world, the worst thing that's ever happened. They love drama. So they like to look for a villain, a victim, a hero. And that can be a person. It can be an experience, like something that's happening. It tries to find, like, if you start like blaming somebody else for everything that you're doing, or you start to, you're falling into that victim mindset, that your emotions have taken control. That's all, right? So it's that simple. And we just don't want to make any decisions from there. When we know it's our heart, when we know it's our soul or our body wisdom, there's something amazing that happens when something is soul aligned or it's the truth for us. There is no drama. There is no exaggeration. It's actually very calm. It's very centered. It's grounded. It's just like this weird amount of certainty where you just know. And this is actually what happened with the house that we're going to be moving into, is that there was no theatrics to it. We were okay with the fact that maybe we wouldn't get it, but we strangely knew that we were going to get it. And we allowed ourselves to be excited about it, but there was still like a surrender, and it was just calm, and we weren't freaking out, and we weren't, thinking about it every moment of the day. It just kind of was like, man, I really hope we get this. And I just have a really strange feeling that we're going to. That is what those truth aligned things feel like. So all the things that we just mentioned above, the 6 things that we mentioned above, they're not calm. They're not centered. They're not grounded, and they surely are not certain, right? They're dramatic. They're exaggerations. They are catastrophizing. They are very fear-based. So it's important to understand that. And here's one of the biggest mistakes that I have made in my life is thinking that I had to stop them from happening. Thinking that I had to try to fight them when they pop up. And when we do that, we're actually just giving them more power. So something that I've learned as I've gone through this, and oftentimes we don't notice how much we've really changed until something happens, and then we get to actually, we get to play with the changes that we've made, or we get to see that we're handling something significantly different than we would have in the past. That is what this has been like for me, and why I wanted to do this episode, because in the past, I would have tried to fight them. I would have tried to stop them from happening, or thinking that there's something wrong with me because I'm having these feelings. There's not. It's normal. This is a normal part of the process. So instead, can we just be the witness of them? Can we give them a little nod? Can we understand that it's simply your subconscious mind trying to keep you where you're at? Because our subconscious mind would choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven every single time. And can we choose to keep moving forward despite all the mind games and all the theatrics that are going on within our system? We just have to become a witness to them. This is about, allow yourself to have a deep understanding of how this shows up for you. And that's going to be a little bit unique to everyone. But once you can see them, you're already on the right track, because then all you have to do is not let them sweep you away. So there's somebody that I love. I took a course of hers in Mind Valley. Her name is Christy Marie Shelton, and she uses this technique, and it's really been a game changer for my life. So I'm going to share it with you. So here's step 1. When these things start to pop up in your system, here's your first step. Just notice it. Become aware of it. Because as soon as we become aware of it, we're able to make a choice as to what we're going to do with it. Okay. Step 2 is we become the witness of it. You do not have to react to it. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to try to figure it out. You don't have to punch it in the face. Okay. That's all we have to do is calmly give it a little nod. We can say something along the lines of, well, isn't that interesting? Come at it from a place of non-judgment instead of seeing it as something that needs to be fixed. It's not something that needs to be fixed. It's a completely normal thing that happens when we're bumping up against our limits. So it doesn't need any more analyzing than that. Okay, well, here we are. This is happening, right? Step 3, laugh at it. If we can laugh at something, using humor takes the heaviness out of anything, because humor requires you to operate from the top of your brain instead of your lower brain, which is your fight or flight. And so if we can give it a little giggle and even thank it for showing up, you're going to be able to clear it. And we're going to talk about that on how we can clear it in a second. But could you just imagine this. If somebody walked up to you on the street and insulted you or told you that you were stupid or whatever, and you simply said, "Oh, thanks for sharing that with me." You literally, well, 1, confused the shit out of them. 2, you just took their power away, right? Because they did it to make you feel less than or because of their own insecurities. But just because someone says something doesn't mean that it's true, and it surely doesn't mean you have to take it on. But to thank them for sharing it, that's going to stop it right in its tracks and be like, okay. So that's what we want to do with our mind games, these mental thoughts and these emotions that pop up, is we want to just, hey, thanks for sharing that, and it allows you to see it and just completely respond differently. And it's going to shut up because it's like, whoa, wait, that was supposed to take you down into a downward spiral, and you're not. Weird. Okay. So when this happens, we can use this phrase, clear, delete, and uncreate. And Christy Marie Sheldon talks about how this is when we're clearing it from our entire system, from all time, dimension, space, all of that. We're deleting it from our entire system, and we're actually uncreating it, meaning that we're taking it from the root of wherever this thing was created, and we're like pulling it out by the roots. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you get these words correct. What matters is that the intention is there. And when we say this, and you can just say this in your head, like, "Oh, thanks for showing me this. Let's clear, delete, and uncreate any of the energies around this." This is when we ask our highest self to remove this from our system, because we know it's not true. We know it's not helping us, and we know we don't have to listen to it, and we don't have to take it on just because it's there. Okay? That's step 3. Step 4, you can simply ask this question to kind of refill it, is what would it take for me to keep moving forward? I clear, delete, and uncreate the energy that's telling me that I'm not good enough. What would it take for me to keep moving forward? And essentially what you're saying is, what would it take for me to raise my energetic vibration so that I can keep moving forward towards my purpose? What would it take for me to move forward instead of getting swept away by this stuff? And this is where you are enlisting the help of God, source, divine energy, whatever you want to, whatever you call it. This is where you ask for help, where you remember that you don't have to do it alone. Okay? And you allow this, what would it take, is not something that you have to figure out. You're saying, "God, give me the courage. God, give me the step. God, give me whatever I need right now in order to just keep moving forward with my purpose." And then step 5 is you keep moving forward. You take the next best step. It really is as simple as just don't stop when these things pop up. See them, clear them. What would it take for me to just keep moving forward? And then just let yourself keep moving forward, regardless of what your mind and your emotions are trying to tell you. You kind of just get to shut those off, okay? But it really is just don't stop. And every time you do it, you're going to get better at it. And every time you do it, it's going to loosen its grip on you. And every time you do it, you're going to become a better witness of the behaviors and what happens. And every time you do it, you're going to get a little better at laughing at it. And you are going to actually start to shift into being really grateful that these things pop up, because you know that those are the things that are telling you that you are bumping up against a current limit. And all you have to do is keep moving forward to bust through it. So I hope that was helpful for anybody who is listening today, anybody who might be going through something like this. You're going to go through it at some point or another. So I hope that you can grab the companion workbook that we have attached in the show notes and give it a go. Go through this, become aware of it, go through the steps, see what happens. And we'd love to hear from you and just see how this kind of helped in your life. So that is all I have for you today. Just remember that transformation starts with awareness and builds with choosing to take action on that awareness. So share this episode with someone who you think might need it. Let's keep evolving together, and I will see you on the next one.